consider them a dirty team, and that perhaps should be the last comment on that subject. But there we are, looking out at Hampden. We're now just less than half an hour away from kick-off time, and we've been out to Dunrobin Primary School in Airdrie earlier this week to see what the youngsters there had to say about the big match.
So it's Guess the Star. We asked the kids to describe their favourite player without mentioning his name.
He's got curly hair, he's fast, he's not too big, not too small, he's in the middle.
He's a good player and everybody likes him. He's about the favourite, I think.
He's got black hair, he's number 10 and blue eyes, and he's a top scorer. He's got brown wavy hair. He plays number 9 or number 10, I'm not sure. He's a brilliant football player. And his hair's brown. I think he's got blue eyes. He goes out with somebody called, I think it's Janet, I'm not sure.
Do you know what his wife's name is? What is it?
Alison.
And he goes out with somebody called Janet.
I think it's Janet, I'm not sure.
Right, okay, well, fine for that.
Alison.
Alison, right, okay, Alison, not Janet.
He's good looking.
What do you think? Good looking fella?
Yes.
I don't think he's good looking anyway. I think he's pretty ugly actually. Has you got his picture up in your bedroom wall?
Yes.
Who else? What, any pop stars or anybody up there beside him?
I like Macaulay Culkin and I like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So is this guy, this football player, is he a cross between Macaulay Culkin and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yes.
I think that's quite a good description of him actually.
She thinks I'm a cross between her. I think she's probably quite right. I've got Macaulay Culkin's physique and Arnie's brains.
You said it, pal, but for every Rangers pin-up, there's an idol from Airdrie. So how about this for an identikit picture?
He's got blonde hair. He scored a couple of goals this season. He plays up front, striker.
He's got blonde hair with kind of like dark streaks, and he's a very good runner. He's quite tall in the middle, sort of, and he's got quite a good reputation for goal scoring.
He's sort of quite short and quite tall in between, and he's got blue eyes, sort of blondie with sort of wee bits of grey in it.
He's got blonde hair, and he's got blue eyes, and he's tall.
He's got blonde hair, and he's quite short, and he's faster runner. He's the second top goal scorer.
Is he good looking?
Mhm.
Think so?
I think he's worth £300,000.
Is he better looking than Jason?
No.
What else can you what else can you tell me about him then?
He's good at football.
She's obviously got high standards, that little girl. But I would like to meet her one day, and then maybe when she's seen me in real life, she'll maybe change her mind.
Did you get him? Alan Lawrence isn't quite as handsome as Jason. Now then, who's going to win?
Airdrie should win, but Jimmy Sanderson isn't playing, so Airdrie should still win, but Rangers might win. I'd say the Rangers could maybe win, but I think that Airdrie could win in 90 minutes.
What do you think the score will be in the final?
2-8, and it'll go into extra time.
And then what?
Airdrie will win.
On penalties?
Yes. We'll hope they put Airdrie out with a granny.
You sure about that?
Yes.
Drew, what do you think the score will be in the final?
2-1.
To who?
Rangers.
Do you think they'll need penalties?
Yes, because Airdrie will score another goal in the second half, and then it'll go into extra time.
What would you like to say to them and to Big John Martin? There's the camera, don't tell me, tell the camera.
Good luck. Hope you do well. And keep saving the way you have been, John.
Airdrie will never win the cup.
But, Big John, while you're saving goals, catch this from Debbie.
Great stuff. The kids from Dunrobin Primary School in Airdrie, and some of them no doubt will be here. The rest I'm sure watching at home on television. Well, we were just commenting, in fact, that the Rangers end, the traditional Rangers end, what used to be the West Terracing here at Hampden, very slow to fill up. But that, of course, is now because that it's seated, and presumably all the seats have numbers, and therefore all the Rangers fans with tickets for that end know exactly where they're going, so there's not quite the rush to get in that there once was. But it still looks a little strange to see so many spaces so close to kick-off time. Sandy Stewart apparently will captain Airdrie since Jimmy Sanderson, of course, is suspended, and that's ironic in itself because he, of course, was given a free transfer by Alec MacDonald while he was a player at Tynecastle. Strange how things can turn around. Here's Sandy Stewart talking to his 11.
Sandy Stewart, you'll be leading the Airdrie team out today. Great honour for you.
Oh, it's a great honour. Unfortunately, with circumstances with Jimmy, somebody's got to take the team out, and I'm just delighted it's myself.
How much are you going to miss Jimmy and Kenny Black today?
I think we'll miss them, but I also think we've got players that can come in and do a really good job, and hopefully with the score at the end of the game we'll not miss them that much.
Now, whatever happens, you're winners. You're in the European Cup Winners' Cup, but how much would it mean to you to actually go up those steps and pick the cup up today, Sandy?
I can't really put it into words, I just hope it's true and it happens. But we'll be delighted. We're here not to make up the numbers, but to win the cup.
I know you can't tell me too much about the tactics, but I don't suppose they've changed much, have they?
No, I don't think you need to have a crystal ball to see our tactics, but we've had success with it this season, and hopefully today we'll have the same success.
The problem could come if Rangers hit you fast early on in the match.
I think the 3 games that we've been beaten by Rangers this season, we've lost a goal early on, so obviously it's our main concern that we don't lose one early.
But 0-0 at Broomfield the last time, that must give you great hope.
Oh yeah, we thought we really deserved at least a point there, and everybody's looking forward to this game.
Sandy, all the best. Have a good game.
Thanks very much.
Sandy Stewart, the Airdrie captain this afternoon. Now, it's been a fairly well-kept secret, but in fact there was a bit of a crisis in the Airdrie camp earlier on this week because the strips nearly weren't ready for the big day. True story, they've signed a new strip contract with a new manufacturer, and they were to be manufactured in the northeast of England, in County Durham, in fact. They found, though, that the original batch had a fault and that the strips, therefore, would not be ready in time. So they quickly had to reorder a new batch of material, and this is how the cup final strips are actually put together in the northeast of England in the Hummel factory, ready for the big day. And of course it's significant nowadays that cup final strips are always one-offs. They're always individually made with the badge commemorating the occasion. And the nimble-fingered ladies in the Hummel factory had to put together the strips, but only just a real rush job in the last couple of days, ready for delivery to Broomfield for the big day. The Airdrieonians, only one cup win in their history back in 1924. Strangely, the last cup final to be played anywhere other than here at Hampden. It was played at Ibrox. So there we are, the strips have arrived in time. The teams, as we've seen, are here and are just completing their warm-ups out on the pitch. It's a very crowded pitch, actually, Mutt. I'm surprised they got room to complete the warm-up.
That's right, the pipe band are going up and down the middle, so the players have got to watch where they run or where the ball goes. I've seen some of them running in between the band to try and retrieve the ball.
That's a departure as well, really, Derek, isn't it? Because it used to be that you didn't see the players until 5 minutes before kick-off time, but now the warm-up's an important part of the build-up, isn't it?
It is, because there's been so many pulled muscles recently, Dougie. You've got to get early on the pitch, and also to soak up the atmosphere as well. I feel sorry for the players, because really they can't get down to their warm-up because of the pipe bands. There was 7-a-side football. I mean, each of the teams had a little corner to do their warm-up in, which is really a bit unfair, but people want to see stuff from 1:30 here, and that's certainly what they've got this afternoon.
Well, it is filling up, obviously, as we get closer to 3 o'clock. The Airdrie fans thoroughly enjoying the day out, and you can't overstress just how much pressure it lifts off the players to know that they're already in Europe. They'll play in the European Cup Winners' Cup, no matter the outcome this afternoon. As a member of the legal fraternity in the midst of the Airdrie fans. And that must take some sort of award for the longest flag we've seen at Hampden for a long time. Someone's been burning the midnight oil putting that together. That, the Airdrie end, if we can call it that, just underneath us, the family section and the ranks of the Airdrie supporters. And I suppose one has to point out, as we did when St Mirren were here in '87 and when Motherwell won last year, that the boards of all those clubs would just love to see even half the numbers that turn out on a big occasion to actually go along on a regular basis. Well, Alan Lawrence, of course, the Airdrie striker they call Nipper, is an important man for them this afternoon, and he's talking to Rob McLean.
Alan, what do you think of it so far?
Oh, it's brilliant. Everything's going as we expected. And it's really good to see the lads so relaxed before a big game.
And obviously a terrific support there behind you.
Well, what more can I say? Just hope that we can do something for them today.
Feeling quite confident that you can cause Richard Gough and company a few problems?
We're always confident that we can cause teams problems. But as I say, we've just got to see what happens on the day, and hopefully maybe we'll come out on top.
Obviously a great deal of relaxation about the Airdrie side. You've done what you set out to do at the start of the season, and this is all icing on the cake, as someone once said.
Oh yeah, this is definitely a bonus for us. I mean, our main priority was to stay in the Premier League, but to end the season on such a high note is absolutely unbelievable, and I'm sure that we won't disappoint ourselves today.
Enjoy yourself. Thanks, Alan.
Thanks very much.
20 minutes or so away from kick-off time in the 107th Tennent's Scottish Cup final. The whole match live here on BBC Scotland this afternoon, including extra time and penalties if required. We'll also take in highlights from Wembley of the FA Cup final at half-time and full-time, Liverpool against Sunderland. And again, let me just remind you of that telephone number for the man of the match competition to win a trip to Gothenburg to see Scotland-Holland in the European Championships. 0891 88 1991. Your prediction of who will be the sponsors man of the match this afternoon. Lines open until 4:30, but call now even before the match has started. After all, you've got a 22 or perhaps a 26 to 1 chance of guessing the right name. 0891 88 1991. Well, let's get a few closing thoughts from Derek and Murdo just before we hand over to Jock and Billy for match commentary. If you're Alec MacDonald, Derek, what do you think is the most important thing that you should say to the players before they go out?
I think what they don't want to do is lose an early goal. I think that goes without saying. If you allow Rangers to play and give them an early goal, they will get a big lift from it then. I think there could be goals in it. If you go out there and they defend, which I think they will do, they'll man mark and make it as very, very tough for Rangers as possible. If they go through half an hour or even up to half time without Rangers scoring, they will get a big boost out of that, and that's important for them.
Well, let's take a look at the two team lineups. Airdrie then firstly, John Martin in goal, Walter Kidd, Sandy Stewart who takes over as captain, Chris Honor, the £20,000 signing from Bristol City, Gus Caesar. Now that's interesting there at number 6. That is a bit of a surprise. I would have thought Boyle, Balfour, Lawrence, Coyle, Kirkwood, Smith and Reid on the bench. That might just be food for thought for our match commentary team this afternoon. Let's hand you over now to Billy McNeill and Jock Brown. Well, we're obviously having problems with the sound just for the moment. We'll hopefully get that put right for you. But we're looking obviously at the Rangers team, which Murdo is along very much expected lines, isn't it?
That's right, no surprises at all. Very strong side. They played together for so often this season. We look forward obviously to go out and cap a fine season.
Fairly conventional 4-4-2 formation with McCoist and Hateley up front. No Peter Houstra. I thought he might have been on the bench, Derek. Are you surprised by that?
I think he'll be disappointed, but because I think today Rangers are going to have to get men wide to get ammunition into the box for the likes of Hateley. No use being good in the air if you're not going to get the ammunition, and surprises me no real wide players there. The only one they have is Dale Gordon, who's on the bench.
All right out, of course, who can play in both defence and attack, and as he has proved over the last few weeks of the season, a very useful player to have as cover in central defence. Well, I think we can make contact with our commentary team. Let's try again to say hello to Jock Brown and Billy McNeill.
Thank you, Dougie. Yes, there's the very colourful setting here at Hampden, and while it is criticised so frequently, it's still a very colourful scene for Cup Final Day. So there are some very relaxed faces waiting for the start of the match, which is some 15 minutes away now, and we've had that confirmation of the two team lineups, and that is, of course, Billy, of substantial interest.
Yes, and Airdrie have been hit, obviously. Little Con hasn't passed the fitness test, and I think that will handicap him just a little bit, Jock, because he's a sharp little player and has the confidence to go at people, and without him they've had to make further adjustments, I would think.
Well, of course, no Jimmy Sanderson or Kenny Black thanks to their suspensions, so there's already some disruption to the Airdrie ranks, whereas Rangers, Billy, are obviously at full strength, and that posed a difficult problem for Walter Smith as to who to leave out. What do you make of the team he selected?
Well, with the array of players that he's got, I think it would be a difficult choice for him. I'm a little bit surprised that he's decided to leave Hoostra out of the lineup at all, because I felt that he is always valuable, perhaps on the bench, to come on if things are not going right. He has the ability to go past people, he has the ability to send in some good crosses from that left-hand side, and that would suit Mark Hateley eminently.
Well, of course, I think Dale Gordon's been given that opportunity instead of Peter Houster, who will be very disappointed, I've no doubt. But the role which may be played by Ian Durrant could be significant, Billy. What do you think he may do? Will he play wide in midfield, or may he play behind the front two?
Well, I have a little suspicion that he'll play behind the front two, because he knows that Airdrie are going to pick up at the back. They're going to try and leave a sweeper in behind. It'll be interesting to see who that is. And I think what Walter's trying to do is to make them think, to make them guess, and maybe to pull the fullbacks in a little bit so he can get his own fullbacks to operate in those big channels. He'll switch the ball about undoubtedly. He'll make Airdrie work very, very hard to contain his front players.
Now, thoughts on the Airdrie set-up defensively with no Jimmy Sanderson to sweep. Walter Kidd has that kind of experience, but he's proved himself to be an excellent marker. Could it be Paul Jack sweeping?
I think that's perhaps the logical choice. I know he has played there with his previous club, and he's got a little bit of pace, and it may well be that we'll see Walter Kidd pick up Ali McCoist, because I'm quite convinced that Airdrie know the importance of Ali McCoist to Rangers. They'll want to prevent him getting an early goal, and I think Walter Kidd is as good a marker as you'll see in the game.
So the problem may well be for Airdrie to contain things early on, because that's been their downfall, as Sandy Stewart told us a few moments ago. In the matches when they've lost, they've had that problem of losing a goal early in the match. And of course, with this reorganised defence, that puts even more pressure on. Can they cope with that?
Well, it was a very honest interview, and a very forthright interview. But he's right. I think he has got, Airdrie have got to prevent Rangers from scoring early. I do have the feeling that if Rangers get an early breakthrough, then it'll be one of the most one-sided finals we'll ever have seen. If Airdrie can prevent them from doing that, they can disturb the rhythm, they can start to get the crowd a little irritable. That'll transmit itself to the Rangers players, and therefore will suit Airdrie. And I think that in the early stage of the game, Airdrie will mark very, very tightly indeed and try to prevent Rangers from building up a sequence of passes.
Well, talking of finals against Airdrie, your last match, as I recall, as a senior professional for Celtic was in the 1975 Cup final, when of course Celtic were hot favourites to play against Airdrie. Can you recall the feeling just before that match?
I've tried very, very hard in actual fact to think about that game, Jock, at different times. The only recollection I have is at the end when the other players, knowing that it was my last game, decided to cheer me off. They didn't realise how tired I was. They should have really been more careful in what they did. But that is about the only strong recollection I have of that game. As I remember it, I think that Airdrie came along, and I do believe we won quite comfortably, because I think Airdrie throws just a little bit on the occasion. I hope we don't freeze today. I hope we have a good final, and I hope we have one that's full of incident and interest.
Well, if we reflect on the importance of being in a good run, Airdrie come here from a very good run. They haven't lost since the end of March, when they lost at Aberdeen against Aberdeen. But from that point on, they've managed to win important games to finish 7th in the Premier Division. Is there a possibility that everyone is underrating them for a final like this?
It may well even be the case that Airdrie are deliberately using that ploy, that they may be evoking the sympathy of everyone, saying that Jimmy Sanderson's out, Kenny Black's out. We've now got Sammy Coyne, who hasn't made the starting lineup. Maybe they're playing the underdog, and they'll be looking for the sympathy of everybody. It may well be that they just catch Rangers off their guard a little bit, because if they get the opportunity, although they tend to disrupt the flow of the other team's play, they can play themselves at times, and given the opportunity, they might well do that.
Well, we're going to find out very shortly now. The 45,000 crowd taking its place now for this 107th Scottish Cup final, and Rangers looking for their 25th Cup win in their 41st appearance in the final, whereas Airdrie have won only once before. That was in 1924 when Bob McPhail played. So David Murray, the Rangers chairman, looking now to watch over what he hopes will be the first double under his stewardship. Lord McCluskey there in the foreground, arriving. He is the chairman of the Compensation Tribunal in Scotland. Has a very keen interest in the game, and he too is waiting to enjoy the occasion. So it's very colourful, and of course additional interest in the new strips being worn by both clubs this afternoon for the very first time. Their new contract permitting them to turn out this afternoon wearing these new outfits, which will add to the colour in the scene. So the Rangers supporters have all looked very relaxed, but I must say, Billy, when the Rangers players came out to warm up, they did look to be just a little bit tense, and I wonder if they really have got an edge on for this final. That was one of the big fears. They may be complacent, but there was no evidence of that in the manner in which they warmed up, was there?
No, I thought there was a determination about them. I think much has been said about the David and Goliath aspect. The Rangers will be very much on their guard. They've got a lot of very good professionals, good international players in their ranks. They'll be wanting to add the Scottish Cup to the League Championship they've already won. And I did detect a real positive attitude to them. However, I looked at the Airdrie players as well, Jock, and they seem very relaxed. They seem as though they are going to come here to enjoy the atmosphere. And maybe they've said to themselves, well, nobody rates us, we might as well give it a go.
Yes, they certainly did look as though they were enjoying the occasion. We had a brief glimpse there of the Scotland manager, Andy Roxburgh, taking his seat in the director's box, and clearly he will be particularly concerned with the Rangers players in his squad to go to the USA and Canada and thereafter to Sweden, so he'll be paying particular attention, I've no doubt, to the fortunes of men like Richard Gough and Stuart McCall and Ali McCoist, and hoping they don't come to any harm in this match this afternoon. So the banners waving around the stadium now as the spectators anticipate the arrival of the two teams, and this of course the moment the players have been waiting for, the chance to come out onto the pitch for real. All the build-up almost complete, and it's now down to the 90 minutes of the 10th Scottish Cup final, which will decide the destination of the trophy for this season. And with thoughts casting back to last season's cup final, Motherwell against Dundee United was a genuine classic in terms of entertainment. Will there be any possibility of a similarity this afternoon, Billy?
Well, I think there is a possibility. We've also got to consider that Airdrie, irrespective of what happens today, are in Europe. Now that is real success, and if you consider that they may well come out in a much more relaxed fashion. Rangers may well themselves be so relaxed because they've won the league, they won it convincingly, and they may well be so relaxed that they're intent on playing some good football. But I think perhaps the final might surprise us. They've got players out there that can grace the occasion, and it'll be interesting to see how the whole thing evolves.
So the occasion enhanced by the release of the balloons, the red, white and blue for Rangers, the red and white there for Airdrie, all adding to this wonderful colourful setting. And a big moment coming close up as referee Douglas Holt leads out the match officials. Stu Dallas from Wishaw on the left, Bill Mackey from Forres on the right, and they'll be followed by the two teams, hopefully. They certainly expected to be followed by the two teams, but there's been a little bit of delay there, and Alec MacDonald and Walter Smith just checking that their players are all in position now. So two very experienced professionals, Alec MacDonald on the left, Walter Smith on the right, enjoying a chat there as they lead out the two teams. A big day too for the two mascots. The Airdrie mascot is Stephen Hannon and the Rangers mascot Stuart Angus. So there are the two teams emerging for the cup final and receiving a huge welcome. The Rangers fans on the west of the stadium, new west stand, and around the enclosure, and the Airdrie fans out in numbers on the east terracing, and it's party time already for these Airdrie supporters. So there's young Stuart Angus from Cumnock in Ayrshire, 10 years old, standing there for the opening ceremonies. His favourite player is Mark Hakeley, and he's a very promising left winger, so it's a very big occasion for him. And too for young Stephen Hannon, he's 12 years old, looks a little bit more laid back. Caldervale High School is his education establishment, and he too is a very keen player. His grandfather, in fact, was the Airdrie manager Archie Wright, whom Billy McNeil, I'm certain, will remember very well indeed.
Yes, I do indeed remember Archie, but it's a lovely occasion for this young man and indeed for the Rangers mascot, because it is a big occasion, it's a glamorous occasion, and they must enjoy it to the full.
So the presentation of the SFA President Peter Gardner and the Tenants Director John Hamilton, by Jim Farry through Walter Smith, the Rangers manager. So the introduction of the players. They go down the line, these tense moments for the players, certainly moments they do not relish. They'd rather see this all over and get down to the serious business. Mark Hateley, playing in a Scottish Cup final for the first time. He's played in the French Cup final for Monaco and the Italian Cup final for AC Milan, and been in the losing side on each occasion. So Hateley trying to avoid a hat-trick of cup final defeats in various countries in Europe. So the officials now being introduced with the mascot. So Douglas Hope as the culmination of an excellent season of refereeing. He's been undoubtedly one of the top officials in the country throughout the season, and following his brother, who was a referee in the 1987 final between Swinburne and Dundee United, and he's clearly enjoying himself hugely. Well, the new Airdrie captain, Sandy Stewart, introducing his men. Well, it's unfamiliar territory this for the Airdrie captain. Hasn't had too many chances to do this, Sandy Stewart. There's Paul Jack smiling to the SFA president. Gus Caesar started his career with Arsenal, so he's been in plenty of big matches. So through to Gus Caesar there, who looked to be an outstanding defender, Billy, early in his career with Arsenal, and then seemed to lose his way a little to go to Bristol City and then up here to Airdrie.
Yes, he certainly was a promising young defender with Arsenal some years ago. That his career hasn't perhaps taken off just quite in the manner of which everyone expected. But he's a big solid lad, and he'll give it his all tonight, I'm sure.
So the teams break for their respective ends, and we'll have a look here at the Airdrie team confirmation. No Jimmy Sanderson, no Kenny Black, and sadly for Sammy Conn, injury has denied him his cup final opportunity. So the Airdrie team had to be rebuilt rather. Paul Jack has come in, and apart from that, Gus Caesar had a chance to play in central defence. Andy Smith and Wes Reid are the substitutes. So for Walter Kidd, a very important occasion, one which I reckon he didn't expect to have the chance to savour following his departure from Hearts last season after 14 years service. And remember, he had the misfortune to be ordered off in the 1986 Cup final when he played for Hearts against Aberdeen. So he'll be anxious to put that behind him this afternoon. So the Rangers line-up showing that there are no places in the starting line-up for Dale Gordon, for Peter Houstra. Paul Ryder also is on the bench, and that's a very powerful Rangers line-up, with Ian Durrant completing a fine comeback to top-class football by being in the starting line-up this afternoon. But for Ali McCoist, the chance for the first time to pick up a Scottish Cup winners' medal. That would be the culmination of a wonderful season. He scored 38 times for Rangers this season, and he'll be very anxious indeed to add to that total this afternoon. The Football Writers Player of the Year. He's in the international squad for Sweden. He's won another League Championship medal, and the Cup winners' medal is the only thing missing. A magnificent season. So the exchange of pennants. Richard Gough, the Rangers captain, has already been here with Rangers and with Dundee United and losing finals, and he also captained Tottenham Hotspur against Coventry City in a losing FA Cup final back in 1987, so he too has a point to prove in this season's final. So the referee, Douglas Hope from Askin, reporter to the children's panel, 47 years old, 10 seasons, a Grade 1 official, and ideally suited for this his big moment, refereeing the Scottish Cup final. Waiting expectantly. It's now 14 years since they enjoyed a double winning season, and they'll be looking for the climax of the season this afternoon. The Rangers will kick off. So the 107th Scottish Cup final is underway.